Shabbat Shalom. Chatima Tova. It's common practice among rabbis to share high holiday sermons with each other in preparation for the big days ahead. Sometimes this allows us to borrow an idea or a story from a colleague, especially when we are less than inspired. More often, though, we do it to ensure that what we are going to teach our congregation is truly on point. You know, it's easy to lose perspective when preparing remarks. So getting feedback from trusted peers is usually a great idea. However, there's a catch. If you share your sermon 3 days before Kol Nidre, it may happen that your friends tell you something you didn't actually really wanted to hear, putting you in a spiral of frenetic writing with 2 days to go and the clock mercilessly ticking. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Now, not that I am saying that this is exactly what happened to me when I shared my sermon with a friend this past Tuesday night, but oh well. So instead of talking about what I thought I was going to talk until Tuesday evening, I will speak about a rather obscure aspect of Yom Kippur that remains central to our prayers, even in our days. I'm talking about the Avoda, the detailed rituals that the high priest had to perform on Yom Kippur when the temple was still standing. There was a lot going on back then, and some of it happened simultaneously. I can assure you it was far more complex than leading services, checking gym handlers' spreadsheet to see who's opening the ark next, and keeping an eye on the watch all at the same time. Way more complicated than that. But by the way, thank you, Jim, for all the hard work you put into making sure that the high holidays run smoothly every year. Anyway, since we no longer perform sacrifices or send goats to die in the middle of the wilderness, the question is pretty straightforward. Why do we read about all of this on such a holy day? Didn't we have anything better to just, inspire ourselves? Is it just nostalgia? Or is there something meaningful to learn from all this process that we will read tomorrow, both in the Torah and then during Musaf? This evening, I would like to highlight 5 aspects of these rituals. 2 that inspire me, 1 that I find highly problematic, and 2 more that we should retain, but with a few tweaks. So, according to the Talmud, in the week leading to Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol had to leave his home and move to the temple to get ready for the occasion. The rituals of Yom Kippur were quite elaborate, and all of them fell solely on him. Unlike the rest of the year, when groups of Kohanim offered sacrifices and performed other temple rituals, on Yom Kippur, everything had to be done by this one guy. The thing is that he was the least prepared for this role, as most of the work during the rest of the year was carried out by others. Therefore, he had to train, to prepare, and to spend considerable time ensuring that he knew the ins and outs of what had to be done. I don't know about you, but I find the idea of the Kohen Gadol spending time to prepare to be an inspiring one. It is a wonderful reminder that no matter how high you are in the hierarchy, you must do your homework and be ready for the task at hand. I also appreciate that on Yom Kippur, he had to perform various tasks that he typically didn't handle, because it conveys the message that no duty was beneath the dignity of his office. True leadership at every level requires individuals to roll up their sleeves whenever necessary and get the job done without any excuses. Now, the second idea I really like about how Yom Kippur was observed back in the days of the temple is that as part of the rituals, the Kohen Gadol had to engage in a series of confessions that began with himself and then extended to include his family and then the rest of the Jewish people. So pay attention. He couldn't seek forgiveness for the sins of the people without first taking responsibility for his own transgressions. Only after he acknowledged his mistakes was he able to address the rest. What I love about these concentric circles of responsibility is that they teach us that effective leadership is demonstrated by our ability to own the consequences of our actions. Unlike those who deflect responsibility and are constantly searching for others to blame, the ancient rituals of Yom Kippur offer us a different path forward. The original scapegoat was not a third party unfairly blamed by those unwilling to accept their wrongdoings, but rather the animal symbolically chosen to carry away our own faults following a thorough process of tshuva. Without the moment of repentance and remorse, the scapegoat was absolutely useless in securing our expiation and atonement. Now, while I find inspiration in these two elements, there is one aspect of this whole ritual that deeply troubles me. And I'm referring to the fact that the Kohen Gadol had to carry out all these duties alone. The Talmud teaches that the people of Jerusalem were there cheering him on and standing close by to celebrate when everything was done. But their role was quite passive. They were not involved at all in the holy task of recognizing their own mistakes or in asking for forgiveness. Everything was done for them, and that's usually not a great recipe for success. If we were to translate these three insights and apply them to building a sustainable congregation for our days, I would emphasize the need to embrace a model that pushes all of us to do our homework and constantly nudges us to take responsibility for our actions. At the same time, I would move away from models that discourage involvement or centralize everything in just one person. It's not healthy. In the long term, it doesn't work. Today, we must invest in a system that fosters both empowerment and engagement. As a congregation, we want people to feel empowered. We need congregants to read Torah, lead services, and chair committees. We rely upon members to make phone calls, care for those who are grieving, and engage in conversations with newcomers. And we aspire to nurture Jews who take deep pride in who they are. They take deep pride in their Judaism and show it by lighting Shabbos candles, by giving tzedakah, studying Torah, visiting Israel, or attending daily minyan. to name just a few. Empowerment is the opposite of waiting for others to step up. On the contrary, it's about recognizing that our initiative matters a great deal. Only by becoming proud ambassadors of this spiritual home can we reach out to others and invite them in. Without empowerment, there is no real engagement. Sermons, classes, services, programs, all of those are very important. But what keeps people here is the feeling of being welcomed and cared for. Today, that responsibility falls on each and every one of us. We can no longer, and we should not rely on the figure of any Kohen Gadol to get any of these things done for us. Finally, let me address two additional aspects of the temple service during Yom Kippur that we should adopt and adapt for the benefit of our congregation. The first relates to the deep connection between Yom Kippur and the day when the Torah was given. The Talmud teaches that only on Yom Kippur was the Kohen Gadol allowed into the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies. On this day, only on this day, he would enter and stand in front of the ark where the Ten Commandments were kept. This was the highlight of the day, as the high priest resembled Moses at Sinai, standing alone before God. What I found profoundly moving about this image is that despite the many sacrifices and rituals performed during Yom Kippur, the central focus of the day was connected to Torah and to the Kohen Gadol's intimate relationship with God. Today, we no longer have a temple or a high priest, but we still have the Torah, and we are still invited to develop a personal connection with our Creator. Here at West End, one of the most memorable moments of the day occurs tomorrow during Neilah, when we open the ark and invite everyone to become like the Kohen Gadol, standing in prayer before our own Sifrei Torah. For those who have experienced this, you know what I'm talking about. The sheer power of Torah, of prayer, and of this holy day comes alive as individuals, couples, and entire families step forward and come here for a brief moment of personal tefillot. If you have never done it, I hope you will consider coming back tomorrow afternoon and give it a try. Perhaps the most meaningful, the deepest, most sincere of prayers happen in that last hour of Yom Kippur, 30 seconds at a time. The last aspect of Yom Kippur and the Yom Kippur temple service that I would like to address this evening relates to the blessing that the Kohen Gadol would utter as he left the Holy of Holies. This was a moment of overwhelming bliss, brimming with hope and in anticipation of a better future. The blessing was beautifully crafted, and many of its words seem as though they were written for us today, holding us, each and every one of us, with everlasting love. As we will read tomorrow, the high priest lifted his voice in prayer and asked God to bless us all with a year of nechama v'shalom, a year of consolation and peace. He prayed for a time of prosperity and song, of rest and abundant joy. The Kohen Gadol pleaded for a year of unity and for the day when we would all go up to Israel together. After October 7th, these brachot resonate with me more than ever. And I imagine they do with you as well. So my prayer this evening is that we take them to heart and recommit ourselves to being a source of blessings for those around us. As I mentioned on Erev Rosh Hashanah, when we bless the people we love, we lift them up, reinforcing in them our shared responsibility to create a kinder, more hopeful tomorrow for all. So to conclude, and after reviewing some of the key elements of the ancient Yom Kippur service, here is my call to action to you. This year, inspired by the legacy of these ancient rituals, I want you to be intentional in the projects you undertake. Do your homework, prepare and work hard. Take a more active role in our congregation. Don't wait for others to lead. Step up, share your voice, and be a proactive agent in building our spiritual home. Be responsible. Own your faults, but don't let them weigh you down. We all make mistakes at one point or another. What defines us is not our wrongdoings, but the ability to rise and learn from our less than ideal choices. Remember that you are not alone. Reach out, invite your friends, and forge new relationships. As much as possible, find meaningful ways to contribute to our congregation's well-being through your time, resources, or both. Embrace a culture of empowerment. Challenge yourself to learn something new, such as leading services or reading Torah. Step outside your comfort zone and be willing to take a risk. This congregation needs you, and your decision to be involved can inspire others to follow. Support Israel. The temple was located in Jerusalem, and the high priest spoke a pretty decent Hebrew. Every Jew, no matter where we are, is linked to that land, and we cannot remain indifferent when the lives of 7 million of our brothers and sisters are hanging in the balance. Foster a serious relationship with Torah and allow yourself the possibility to connect with God as well. In a world without a temple or Kohanim Gdolim, each one of our homes is a temple and each one of us is a priest. We can't delegate this sacred responsibility. It is up to us. Finally, be a blessing. Our world desperately needs people embodying the very best of what humanity can be. Spread joy, resilience, and faith. Cultivate gratitude and be kind. Be kind. Be kind. Don't let those who trade in hate diminish your ability to love. And don't let anyone take away your belief in the redeeming power of hope. This year is just beginning. And while many say that the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are the most significant days of the year, the truth is that the essential work lies ahead from now, from this Yom Kippur, until the next Rosh Hashanah. In that spirit, let's come together to recommit to the efforts that are needed. And may God bless us all with the strength and the wisdom to make it happen. Shabbat Shalom, Mar Chatima Tova, and Tzom Kal.